everybody, and welcome back to Screenstars, and welcome to a top 10 list with a little bit of a difference. I haven't done many, if any, top 10 gaming lists before, so I thought I would start sprinkling a few of them in here and there, because my channel obviously does quite a lot of gaming stuff as well. So I'm going to start catering to some of those that watch the channel that mainly watch it for the gaming stuff. And my first top 10 list I'm going to do is my top 10 games or gaming franchises that I've really tried hard to love and I've played, and I just can't. I just don't like them. I cannot get into these games at all. And this is primarily on PlayStation 4, but some of these will be in PlayStation 3, even PlayStation 2s, you know, when they existed on those consoles as well. So I have tried them consistently over the years, but I just cannot get into these games or these franchises. So I hope you find this an interesting list, and we shall get straight into it. So, as usual, we have some honourable mentions or dishonourable mentions, and the first one is Star Wars Battlefront 2, or Star Wars Battlefront, the first one, the EA games that I love Star Wars, really love Star Wars. However, the problem is I don't love first person shooters, so I've bought these, really tried to get into them, and I just can't. Forget about the really shitty, crappy business practices that EA forced into these games. Taking that out of the equation, just the base game, I really struggle with. I actually did a video on my channel, how to be rubbish at Star Wars Battlefront 2, because it was basically me showing my frustrations with the game, because I just can't get into it. Another honourable mention here is the Borderlands games, especially Borderlands 2, which is the one I've mainly played. I've played it in the past. I played it on, I think it was PlayStation 3 actually, the first time, Borderlands 2, and it's just come on free on the PlayStation this month, the Borderlands Handsome Collection. And I've tried it again. I can't get into it. Again, it's first person, which I struggle with. But it's a looter shooter, which I'm not overly keen on, and it claims it's got like RPG elements, but they're very weak RPG elements. So I've really struggled to get into this game as well. But I understand that there is an audience out there, and I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's just not for me. Another game, and this is Mortal Kombat in general, not just the new one, the last one. The further back it goes, I've never been able to get into Mortal Kombat or generally fighting games. I did used to play the Tekken games when I was younger, especially on PlayStation 1, and I like them, but I can't get into fighting games anymore. I've played the Injustice games and I quite enjoy the story element of it, but I just find fighting games a bit boring. And I think as I've got older, I want a more casual approach to gaming, a more chilled out approach to gaming generally. Something with a story, something that you can put on and chill out with, and Mortal Kombat games do not fall into that category from my perspective. So sorry, Mortal Kombat is just not for me. Coming in at number 10 is Saints Row, or the Saints Row franchise. I have played all of them to some degree. Probably the last one, Saints Row 4, re-elected, had Get Out of Hell with it. I've played that 2 or 3 times and I just can't get into it. It's the humour doesn't work on me, the graphical style doesn't work on me, and the last one in particular was more like a superhero simulation, so it felt wasted. You didn't even want to drive around in a way, because you could just bounce around the map everywhere with using your superpowers. And I just generally have not been able to get into the Saints Row games at all, and it's a bit of a shame because they look quite fun. Number 9, and this hurts, I have to be honest, Persona 5. I've never played any of the Persona games. I heard such great things about this game, Persona 5, and I'm a huge RPG fan. And it took forever to go in a decent sale on the PlayStation Store, and when it did finally go into a decent sale, I bought it. And I was really looking forward to playing it, and I actually played it for about 20 hours, maybe a little bit more, and I ended up uninstalling it because I just didn't like it. I didn't like the story, I didn't like the setup, I found it a bit dull, and maybe I just don't have the patience for JRPGs like this, like I used to do. I was really disappointed that I didn't like this game, so yeah. Coming in at number 8, the Far Cry games. Again, I've played all these games in some console or other, and I just can't get into these games. Again, it's first person, which obviously I've explained is a problem for me. But I like first person in things like Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas and all that kind of stuff. The only Fallout game I've had any real pleasure from is Far Cry New Dawn, the most latest one. But even then, I didn't, play that to death. I've still got it, that game. I really struggle with the Far Cry games. I find them a bit repetitive, a bit samey, and I think they're just not for me, to be honest. Coming in at number 7, I might get some stick for this one, the Resident Evil games in general. I've played them all on all the consoles. I remember playing the first Resident Evil way back when on the PlayStation 1. Scared me to death, but I didn't love it. Resident Evil 2 all the way through the consoles, but I just can't get into them. I'm not a huge fan of horror games, which is a problem. I think the gameplay is very slow and sluggish with the Resident Evil games, with them puzzles thrown in that hurt your head. I've just never really got into the Resident Evil games. They've never been a franchise for me, and unfortunately that's just the way it is. Coming in at number 6, the Hitman games. Now these are games that I absolutely loved when I was younger. The first couple of Hitman games I really enjoyed, really got into them, but I think it's probably, again, as I've got older, I've lost the patience to put the effort into the game that it requires. These games, I mean, you've really the freedom to do anything on these games, to be this Hitman, and the first Hitman game became free a couple of months ago on PlayStation Plus. Bought it, downloaded it, and I played it for the second time. I can't get into it again, and I think it's mainly I just don't have the patience to play it, to be honest, and that it is just the way it is, I guess. Coming in at number 5, the Call of Duty franchise. Just don't like them. Again, first person shooters, problem for me, but I just think they're so uncreative, these games. Same thing every year, just with a different look, different theme, whether it be World War II, whether it be in the future, whatever they do, Call of Duty Black Ops 150, whatever they want to call it, it's the same thing every single year, and it's just not made for me. Don't have the patience for it. They are death simulators, these games. They're not fun to play, and yeah, the Call of Duty franchise is games I never ever buy. I only ever get them free, and I don't play them for long. Number 4, the Dark Souls games. I have played some of these. Now, I'm a huge RPG fan, but I don't understand this fascination and curiosity with games like this that are incredibly hard. It just makes me want to put my fist through things. I don't like frustratingly hard games and games that are hard for the sake of it, and some people might give me some criticism and say, well, you're just not good enough. It's not that I'm not good enough, I just don't have the patience to play them, unfortunately. I'd much rather play The Witcher 3 or Skyrim or something like that. For me, I just cannot get into the Dark Souls games. Number 3, Bloodborne, for very similar reasons to the Dark Souls games. I avoided this. I knew this wasn't for me, and then when it became free on PlayStation Plus last year, at one point, I think it was last year, downloaded it. I thought, well, I can give it a go now, it's free. Played it for a couple of hours, and again, it just made me want to put my foot through the windscreen. It was frustratingly annoying, overly difficult. It looked fantastic, I'm not denying that, it really did, but unfortunately this game just wasn't designed for me. Again, I'd rather stick to my Witcher 3, Dragon Age Inquisition, Skyrim, all them kind of things. This kind of action RPG is just not my style of game. Number 2, the Dishonored games, and this hurts again, because I really wanted to enjoy these games. The art style is amazing, the idea is fantastic, the combat is pretty good, the powers that you get, these mystical powers, supernatural powers, all sound really cool, and then I play it and I just can't get on with it. The stealth sections do my head in. I don't really like stealth games, I find them a bit frustrating. So imagine a stealth game that I'm not really keen on, coupled with first person, which I'm not really keen on. And I do think, for me, I found it frustrating, too hard, and I've tried them both, and I just can't get on with them. So the Dishonored games aren't for me. And number one, again, this is another one that hurts a little bit, is the Just Cause games. I've played them all. Just Cause 1, 2, which I think 2's easily my favourite. 3 and 4, I got 3. I've still got it in my library on my PlayStation 4. Played it for a little bit, didn't like it. And foolishly, I've got 4 as well now in my library. And I thought I'll give this one a go when I got it in a sale. Again, I've played it for a couple of hours and I'm just like, well, this is worse than 3. Oh, I don't understand it. This should be really, really cool. I love open world games, but this one, it doesn't work for me. It's not very good, this franchise. So there you go, guys. That's 10 games that are game franchises that I just cannot get on with. Gaming is I absolutely love gaming. I love it to death. However, I do recognise that all games aren't for everybody, and I just wanted to point out the franchises that I don't generally play very often. So you won't see me do reviews for many of these sort of games that often, because I won't buy them or play them. I'd love to know in the comments, guys. What are your top 10 games or game franchises that you can't get on with? You've really tried hard to love, but you just can't. And I know it's a bit like Marmite this, because some of you will be really angry that I don't like some of these games perhaps, but it's just the way it is. We can't like everything all the time. And I think, like I've said, as I've got older and matured as a person, my gaming likes and dislikes have changed. So thank you very much for watching, everybody.